Shop Chat! Shop Chat!
Well, thank you for joining us on Shop Chat today, and we have a very special guest. We have with us today the CEO of the Barbershop Harmony Society, my friend Marty Monson. Marty, thank you for taking time out of a busy schedule.
My pleasure.
We're here at the Midwinter Convention, of course, where the Society has been promoting its emphasis on everyone in harmony. And tell us, where do things stand in terms of the rollout of some of the things the Society is working on right now?
Yeah, well, you know, we've been talking for 2 years. So I'm glad to get out of the communication and talking and actually get into the execution. And so last week, about 3 weeks ago, we announced the, quartets being formed, both not just the continual men, but mixed and females. And so that's kind of picked up a little bit. It's early, I think they're all yearning for, hey, what do I get to do? Quartet registrations have kind of been almost contest-based entirely.
Right.
And we're trying to broaden that a little bit more to say, hey, register a quartet, there's more things than just contests to register and see value. So that's coming out, and we're going to be always tweaking that and enhancing that. And then last week, we finally rolled out the bylaws and all that kind of stuff that everybody's kind of waiting for. What's that going to do? And now people are starting to form. Now they have data so that they can transact. And we have a few courses that have already signed up to add a new chorus or shift if they already were a mixed chorus, but they were doing it illegally in a sense because they didn't have enough tenors or whatever it was. And so now they've been legitimized and they've started to go down that path too. So there's a lot going on. I'm just excited to be in implementation. It's not going to be perfect, and I'm ready to address those challenges. And, we've had a lot of, this week actually has been a real big week of just having one-on-one conversations with district presidents and leaders. What are they hearing and getting feedback. Had a beautiful meeting this morning with AISQC and talking with them and their passions and heartfelt, of how we can work. And so we're not going to have it perfect by any means, but what I can say is we want to work together because we all love this organization and we want to see it succeed.
And it sounds like what you all are doing on sort of the administrative or legal side of the equation is trying to follow the lead of chapters and quartets and just adapt to what they're choosing to do.
Exactly. I think it's really important for us to do that. If it's a top-down thing, we're not going to grow. Sure. Because the demand there, the world's changed dramatically, with all that. And so grassroots and what chapters want to be is real critical. And and the reality is interesting is that even though with Everyone in Harmony rollout 2 years ago, there were chapters before that were struggling. And most likely they were struggling because they didn't know what kind of identity. They didn't have an identity. They just kind of associated as a barbershop chorus. But what did that mean? And we didn't really say you had to fit this box, even though we kind of told them to live within this box. They didn't really know what that box was. And so for those chapters and those courses who really have gone through a process of really understanding who they are, they take this maybe a little bit more in stride because they have some framework to have a productive discussion around. Right. And your whole Stephen Covey stuff that you did at Harmony University, all this stuff is important. Right. Some people don't know mission, vision, but it goes way over the head, and then I just want to sing. Right. So that's a challenge, because these are organizations, nonprofit organizations that take administration, but it has purpose and meaning. So, I think that evolution is all about grassroots, though, and we're here to help them be what they want to do or what they want to experience on a weekly basis, and not force them to do anything. Sure. We want them to have fun and want to come back instead of, I'm trying to follow what he told me. No. You do. There are certain confines. Right. We hope that. Well, we not even hope. I would say we want barbershop music to be a part of the strategy. Right. That's kind of not an option. Sure. Because we are from the barbershop style. Right. And one can argue what that barbershop style might be defined as today versus what it was 80 years ago or 100 years ago. But everybody, those are all elements that are really, really important to have those conversations. Sure.
So with the emphasis on everyone in harmony, there's certainly a sense in which For decades, men and women have flourished singing barbershop in their respective organizations. Yep. And for decades, men of all races and beliefs and backgrounds have certainly been allowed and have participated in even the Barbershop Harmony Society. So with this emphasis, how do you hope to build on it and expand that participation?
Yeah, well, there's a big blue ocean out there of people, millions upon millions, that nobody's tapping. Mm-hmm. And we have to make sure that singing barbershop and singing in harmony is accessible to everyone. I mean, that's part of the whole inclusion effort. I mean, mm-hmm. if only the rich people can do it, well, that's all we're going to have is a rich society. Right.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit more, because I remember when the rollout first came out mm-hmm. in the Harmonizer, one of the things that was listed as an objective was to find ways to get barbershop to people who are priced. I mean, let's face it, we're here right now at Gaylord.
I know, and it's kind of little.
This is, not exactly a cheap ticket. And a lot of the demographics that we often think about when we think about everyone in harmony, mm-hmm. when you sort of start to look beneath the surface, a lot of it is more of a financial thing. And it's just certain demographics are hit harder with some of those financial realities. So what are some things that you guys have been talking about to try to make barbershop more accessible even to low-income communities?
Yeah, we are exploring models. We actually have hired a new person just about a month ago. Her name is Devin Bradford, and she comes from the association community space and experience, not a barbershopper, but she knows how to create communities and listen to communities mm-hmm. to what their needs are. She's our community development manager, mm-hmm. and we're focused on growth with that effort. And so we are exploring, depending on what kind of community that comes in, whether it's an inner city community, an area of a community that's just underserved,
sure.
Whatever that might be, a younger community, older community, whatever that might be, is to listen to what are those hurdles. And if financial is a big deal, well then, let's listen to that and build something where financial is limited and mm-hmm. build that, versus our current model says, well, if you can't afford this, you're SOL.
Right.
And that's not very everyone in harmony, nor is it really a barbershop thing either.
Right.
Because what I can tell in my own personal experience, the barbershop community really works hard to not to eliminate finance being an issue.
Right.
There are so many individuals and men specifically over the 80 years who have paid it forward. Mm-hmm. And I believe even if that's kind of, just something they do behind the scenes, that's who we are. That defines who barbershopper is. And mm-hmm. and so there are those things, but I think we have to be more aggressive and intentional on financial, if financial is a big issue,
right.
Type of thing.
Gotcha. This summer, our convention is going to head out to beautiful Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
What are some things you guys are working on to make that an exciting convention experience?
Well, the learnings we had last year in Orlando was we went to 3 quartet quarterfinals, and instead of being in the big arena, with 5,000 seats, 6,000 right. seats, and only 2,000 would show up.
Right.
What kind of experience is that for a quartet? I don't know, but it gets a little lonely, I think, from that standpoint. It's just not optimal.
Yeah.
And so we moved it into a small theater, and the feedback was awesome. So we're continuing that. And one of the cool things about Salt Lake City is the relationship with the LDS community, and just that growth or that relationship. They've allowed us to go into the Tabernacle for the quartet quarterfinals. So
for those of us who were there in 2005, and everything was in that very large convention center, so that won't be the case for the first
quartet for that quartet
gotcha.
Quarterfinals. So they're going to be in an intimate area where the acoustics probably are the best in Salt Lake City.
Right.
So that experience, I mean, I just get chilled. I want to go form a quartet and go qualify. It's kind of like singing on the Grand Ole Opry stage. I mean,
right.
That is another one of those iconic spaces to say, I sang there.
Right.
That's huge to encourage, the art form and that performance quality and experience.
Great. And what's on your agenda for the rest of the year? Where are some key spots you're going to be traveling to and key projects you're going to be working on?
Yeah, key projects is working with our communities, our operational teams, because with all this change, the support system to help these with our legacy chapters, and our new communities and chapters that we want to bring into the fold. Needs to have this infrastructure to support, and we need to adapt and be more efficient there. So working with district leaders, I'm having tons of one-on-one conversations this week, working with the other operational teams, and just really helping them work through all that is really critical. We're still continuing all the relationships with ACDA and NAFME and Course America, which is really very important for us to reach out into the music education, core music education field. Because
and boy, here at Midwinter, you can sure see how that's all paying off with all of the youth involvement we have going on right now.
I was a puddle in the last before I walked over here. I cried 3 times with the same group. 1 when I was watching them, 2 when I ran into the 3 music educators who impacted that course. And then they said, Marty, can you go say the same thing to the kids? And I said, okay. And I had to jug a big bottle of water before I did it, because it's just very touching that these teachers care so much about these young people. Because you never know where they might be coming from. We don't know that. And we know that as barbershoppers and entertainers, we don't know who's in the audience. And that's the joy about our desire to go entertain and give some hope and great music and just some good old-fashioned fun.
Yeah, well, that's great. So I'm sorry I interrupted you. So what else is on the agenda for some of the projects?
So I'm going to ACDA in March. I will hit a number of district conventions. We're doing road shows. Rolling out Everyone in Harmony. We're doing road shows in various spots, 20 to 30 locations, all scattered out through North America.
Now, some of the old timers will remember some of the road shows from the old days, but because we've got a lot of new members, explain what that concept is.
Well, the road show is just a way to get it's kind of like an inter-chapter activity, where chapters, we're going to plop ourselves in a city and say, hey, come for 3-4 hours, and we're going to do a deep dive into what does Everyone in Harmony mean, and how does this impact you, and what do you need to do? And we're going to try and tie it to certain conventions, certain leadership academies, but where those aren't available, we're just going to hit these epicenters all around there and just have a fun thing. It's not going to be it's not lecture. It's a workshop based, and we're going to do some singing too. So it's not just show up and work with pencils. We're going to sing, because that's what we're here to do. So
is there a schedule of those already planned that's available, or should we be looking?
They'll be coming out the end of this month.
Okay, end of this month we can go on the BHS website, and that'll give some information, so you can look for a road show in your neck of the woods and go participate.
And if we haven't signed one up, let us know, because we'll still be adding as we go along, because not everybody is being met, and we want it to be within driving distance.
Well, that kind of open communication is just a key part of what we're all trying to do, which is get more people sing barbershop. Well, Marty, listen, it was very kind of you to take time from a busy schedule today to come spend time with us, and we look forward to seeing you down the road, maybe at one of these road shows or at a convention. But thanks so much for all you're doing for the Barbershop Harmony Society. And thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Shop Chat.